Furries are pretty cool, and somehow games made by them are even cooler. So today, I want to check out games made by furries because, well, furries deserve love too. But I have some great games to share with you today, with one of them being one of the absolute best 3D platformers I've ever played, and another only feeding more into my crippling anxiety. But before we get into today's video, I just want to say that I 100% support furries, and that this video is in no way meant to shine furries in a negative light. I just figured that this kind of video would be entertaining to put out, as I never really see anyone make these kinds of videos. But with all that being said, I just have one question. You like MMOs? Atlyss is a game with a big, personality. Developed by Kisif, Atlyss is an MMORPG game that is pretty fun to play. While I'm not the biggest fan of MMO games, Atlyss is a game that kept me thoroughly engaged while I was playing. As the game's world, art style, and combat were always a treat. Now the way Atlyss works is fairly similar to other games in the genre. You start by recruiting your character, selecting what kind of class you're going to play as, then get sent to the hub world where you receive a crap ton of quests before finally adventuring out and doing, well, whatever it is you normally do in these types of games. In terms of combat though, Atlyss doesn't take the usual approach that most games in the genre do, opting to do a more fast-paced hack-and-slash approach, allowing the player to jump around and attack as freely as they want to during fights. But similar to other MMORPGs, Atlyss also gives the player abilities, each with their own cooldown that can be used to aid them during combat and exploration. But I think that's all I can really say about Atlyss. Trust me, I'd love to go more in depth about this game, but Atlyss is the type of game that you just have to experience for yourself. So while I could go on about how the game's approach to character creation has gotten me one of the nastiest sights known to man from my wife, Atlyss still remains as one of the very few MMORPGs that actually got me invested in its gameplay. With challenging enemies and grinding that feels incentivized instead of forced, Atlyss is a great game to start out with if you plan on getting into MMO genre. Do I even need to explain what Lethal Company is? Really? I do? Ugh, fine. If you have been living on a rock for the last 2 years, Lethal Company is a co-op survival horror game developed by Zeekers, where you and 3 other crewmates scavenge planets for scrap in order to serve the company. Who's the company, you may ask? I don't know, but I would mess with them. I heard they're pretty lethal. Now, while visiting planets and collecting crap may make Lethal Company sound like it's a nice and chill experience, this game is anything but that. As while collecting scrap, you can run into a slew of different monsters, like the Bracken, which will kick your ass if you don't look at it, and the Coilhead, which will kick your ass unless you look at it. And these are just monsters that will hunt you indoors. I haven't even brought up the ones that roam around outside. But honestly, the real fun of Lethal Company comes from the way you play it, as the way you play and who you choose to play with can impact your experience a lot. As in one playthrough, you and your friends are trying to get as much loot as possible before time runs out. In another, you're the sole survivor of a robot uprising, and in another, you kill yourself. But Lethal Company is a very fun game that I always have a blast playing with friends no matter what happens. And the best part is that even after the game's release in October of 2023, the game is still getting constant updates that not only patch out bugs, but add new content as well. So honestly, what's not to love about Lethal Company? Fishing! But on the web. Webfishing is a relaxing multiplayer fishing game by a lame developer where you fish. Yeah, there really isn't a whole lot to say about this game. It's just a simple relaxing fishing game that you can play whenever you need a relaxing breakaway from the rage-inducing teammates you get in Marvel Rivals. But with an art style that blends Animal Crossing with PSX graphics, Webfishing is an adorable and relaxing game to play. Alright, I'm just gonna say it, this is hands down the best 3D platformer I've ever played. Developed by Ritzler, Pseudoreglia is a 3D platform Metroidvania that is just incredible to play. In Pseudoreglia, you play as Sybil, a bunny-human hybrid thing, traveling throughout Castle Sansa in an effort to collect abilities and keys in order to save a princess. But with a gameplay that has a heavy emphasis towards platforming, this game just feels good to play, as Sybil's controls and moves are tight, allowing the player to not only feel good while controlling Sybil, but to feel smooth as well. I know, I get it. Calling a character's controls smooth isn't the most descriptive thing on the planet, nor does it help you actually understand how good it feels. So you just have to play the game in order to understand what I'm talking about. Aside from the controls though, the soundtrack in this game is an absolute bop, with the soundtrack of the Twilight Theater being my all-time favorite song from this game. But that's really all I have to say about Pseudoreglia. It's a fantastic game that not only demands absolute mastery over its controls, but rewards it as well. And to be honest, it's by far the best 3D platforming game I've ever played, even beating out other titles like Mario Odyssey in my eyes. So even though the game's combat isn't the greatest, Pseudoreglia is still a very fun experience that gets my 100% recommendation if you enjoy 3D platformers. But there you have it, 4 indie games made by furries. Now, credit where credit is due, this video wouldn't have been possible without this tweet by Claypot, as the original idea for this video came from that tweet. but I definitely plan on doing something again like this in the future, so feel free to leave any suggestions down in the comments. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, why not check out my other 2 channels down in the description while you're at it. But anyway, I hope you subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later. Bye!